Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about something absolutely extraordinary that just solidified Jungkook's position not just as a member of the biggest group in the world but as a solo powerhouse in his own right. We're diving into the historic achievement of his solo album Golden and why the numbers we're about to discuss represent something that has never been accomplished before by any solo K-pop artist in United States history. If you think you already know how successful Golden has been, I promise you the specific context and comparisons we're going to explore today will give you an even deeper appreciation for just how remarkable this achievement really is. So make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down chart data, compare timelines, and celebrate one of the most impressive solo debuts in K-pop history. Let me start with the headline achievement that has ARMY celebrating and the music industry taking notice. According to data from Pop Planet, which tracks album sales and chart performance, Golden by Jungkook has officially become the fastest-selling solo K-pop album to reach 1 million units in United States history, achieving this milestone in just 303 days. Now, you might be thinking okay, that's impressive, but what does it really mean in context? And that's exactly what we're going to explore because the context is what makes this achievement absolutely extraordinary. When you look at the list of the fastest K-pop albums to reach 1 million units in US sales, the top 5 positions paint a very specific and very revealing picture about exactly where Jungkook stands not just among solo artists but among all K-pop acts period. Here's the complete top 5 breakdown and I want you to pay close attention to what these numbers reveal. Number 1 on the list is BTS's Ararang, which reached 1 million units in an absolutely staggering 25 days, making it by far the fastest K-pop album to hit this milestone in US history. Number 2 is BTS's Proof, which took 204 days to reach 1 million units. Number 3 is BTS's Map of the Soul, 7, which achieved the milestone in 228 days. Number 4 is BTS's V, which hit 1 million units in 269 days. And then at number 5, we have Jungkook's Golden reaching the milestone in 303 days. Do you notice something incredibly significant about this top 5 list? Every single album except one is a BTS group album, and the one exception is Jungkook's solo album. That means Golden is the only solo artist album in the entire top 5 fastest-selling K-pop albums in United States history. Let that sink in for a moment because the implications are absolutely massive. Jungkook as a solo artist achieved something that no other solo K-pop artist has ever accomplished. He's competing directly with group albums, including albums from his own group, which happens to be the biggest group in the world, and he's holding his own. The fact that Golden sits at number 5 on this list means it outsold and moved faster than every other K-pop album except for 4 BTS group releases. Every other solo K-pop album, every other group album from other acts, all of them are below Golden on this particular metric. To put this in perspective, let's look at where some other major K-pop releases fall on this list. Rose's solo album Rosie reached 1 million units in 474 days, which is significantly longer than Jungkook's 303 days. Blackpink's The Album took 1,246 days to reach 1 million units. These are major releases from one of the biggest girl groups in K-pop history and from one of its most popular members as a solo artist, and Golden moved significantly faster than both of them. Now I want to be very clear about something because context and fairness matter when we're discussing achievements and comparisons. The fact that Golden moved faster than these other releases doesn't diminish their success or their impact. Different releases happen in different market conditions, with different promotional strategies, at different times in the evolution of K-pop's global presence. What these numbers do show definitively is that Golden performed at an absolutely elite level, that Jungkook as a solo artist demonstrated commercial power that puts him in rarefied company, and that the album connected with audiences in a way that translated to exceptional sales velocity. The 303-day timeline to 1 million units represents not just fan support from ARMY but genuine broad appeal that extended beyond the core fanbase to reach casual listeners and new audiences. Let's talk about what it actually means to sell 1 million album units in the United States because this isn't just a vanity metric or a number that sounds impressive, it represents real market penetration and genuine commercial success in what is arguably the world's most important and competitive music market. The United States has the largest music industry in the world by revenue, it has incredibly sophisticated tracking and chart systems, and achieving significant sales milestones there is considerably more difficult than in many other markets because you're competing not just with other K-pop acts but with the entire global music industry. American artists, British artists, Latin music, every genre and every region is fighting for market share and consumer attention in the US market. For a K-pop solo artist to move 1 million units in that environment, and to do it faster than any other solo K-pop artist in history, represents a level of commercial success that goes well beyond what even most successful artists ever achieve. The 303 days timeline is also worth examining more closely because it provides insight into the sustained commercial performance of Golden rather than just initial spike and then decline. Some albums sell huge numbers in their first week or first month and then sales drop off dramatically. The fact that Golden maintained enough momentum to reach 1 million units over a 10-month period shows that this wasn't just a flash-in-the-pan moment of hype, it was sustained commercial performance driven by continued interest, ongoing promotion, repeat purchases, and new listeners discovering the album over time. That kind of sustained performance is actually more impressive than front-loaded sales that quickly disappear because it demonstrates lasting appeal and cultural impact rather than just momentary buzz. When we compare Jungkook's 303 days to the BTS group albums that sit above him on the list, the comparison actually becomes even more impressive rather than less so. Yes, Arirang moved faster at 25 days, Proof at 204 days, Map of the Soul, 7 at 228 days, and B at 269 days all reached 1 million units more quickly than Golden, but these are group albums with 7 members, 7 individual fanbases combining their purchasing power, 7 members promoting, 7 members creating content. The fact that Jungkook as a single artist was able to achieve a timeline that's even in the same conversation as group releases, that his solo album sits right there at number 5 immediately after 4 group albums from the biggest group in the world, that is extraordinary and it speaks to his individual commercial power and appeal. Think about the mathematics of what this means. A BTS group album has the combined promotional power of 7 globally recognized artists, each bringing their individual fanbase and appeal to the table. A solo album has one person carrying the entire commercial weight. The fact that Jungkook's solo debut achieved a sales velocity that puts it in the top 5 alongside group releases, that it beat every other solo K-pop album in history including releases from extremely popular and successful solo artists, demonstrates that he has solo star power at a level that very few artists in any genre can claim. This isn't just riding on BTS's coattails or relying on ARMY to buy anything with a BTS member's name on it, this is Jungkook demonstrating that he specifically has the talent, the appeal, the music, and the connection with audiences to drive major commercial success on his own. Let's also acknowledge the competitive landscape that Golden succeeded in because the US music market during the period when this album was selling was not a weak field, it was extraordinarily competitive. You had major releases from global superstars across multiple genres, you had the continued dominance of streaming which changes consumption patterns compared to physical sales, you had economic factors affecting consumer spending, and you had an increasingly fragmented media landscape making it harder for any single release to capture mass attention. In that environment, for a K-pop solo debut album to move 1 million units faster than any other solo K-pop album in history is remarkable and it required not just initial hype but sustained interest and genuine quality that kept people buying and streaming over 10 months. The comparison with Rose's Rosie at 474 days is particularly interesting because it provides a direct solo artist to solo artist comparison rather than comparing to group releases. Both artists come from massively successful groups, both have dedicated fanbases, both released solo albums with significant promotional push, but Golden reached the 1 million unit milestone 171 days faster than Rosie. That's more than 5.5 months faster, that's not a marginal difference, that's a significant gap that speaks to the commercial momentum and market penetration that Golden achieved. Again, this isn't about diminishing Rose's success because 474 days to 1 million units is itself an impressive achievement that most artists never reach, but the comparison does clearly establish that Jungkook's solo debut performed at an exceptional level even among other successful K-pop solo releases. The Blackpink The Album comparison at 1,246 days provides another useful data point because Blackpink is arguably the only girl group with comparable global reach and recognition to BTS among boy groups. The fact that their group album took more than 3 times as long as Golden to reach 1 million units in the US again demonstrates the exceptional commercial performance of Jungkook's solo debut. Now, it's important to note that the album was released in a different market environment, streaming was still evolving, the pandemic affected physical sales and distribution, so direct comparisons need to acknowledge these contextual factors. But even accounting for different conditions, the nearly 1,000-day gap between the two timelines is substantial, and it confirms that Golden performed at a truly elite commercial level. I want to talk about what this achievement means for Jungkook's career trajectory and his positioning within the music industry, because reaching 1 million units in 303 days isn't just a one-time milestone that gets celebrated and forgotten, it's a marker that establishes commercial credibility and industry positioning that affects everything that comes after. When you prove that you can move 1 million units as a solo artist, when you prove that you can compete commercially with group releases and outpace other solo artists, you establish yourself as a legitimate solo star rather than just a group member doing side projects. That distinction matters enormously in terms of how the industry treats you, what opportunities become available, what kind of promotional support labels provide, and how seriously you're taken as an individual artist rather than just part of a larger brand. This achievement also provides a commercial foundation for Jungkook's future solo work, because he's now established a baseline of what he's capable of achieving. Any future solo release will be measured against Golden as the standard, and the fact that Golden set such a high standard means there are no questions about his commercial viability as a solo artist. Some artists release solo work and the commercial performance is uncertain, labels and promoters don't know if it will sell, radio stations don't know if there's real demand. Jungkook doesn't have that problem anymore, because Golden definitively proved that he has solo commercial power at the highest level. The timing of this milestone is also worth noting, because Jungkook achieved this while also fulfilling military service obligations, which affected his ability to promote continuously and maintain constant visibility. The fact that Golden maintained enough momentum to reach 1 million units even with limited ongoing promotion from the artist himself speaks to the strength of the album's music and the depth of audience connection. When an album can continue selling even without the artist being actively present to promote it, that's a sign of genuine quality and lasting appeal rather than just hype-driven initial sales. Let's talk about what this means for K-pop as a genre and for the evolution of solo artistry within K-pop, because Jungkook's achievement with Golden actually has implications that extend beyond just his individual success. For years, there's been a question in K-pop about whether solo artists can achieve the same level of commercial success as groups, whether the group model that has dominated K-pop creates stars who can only succeed as part of the collective, or whether individual members can truly stand on their own. Golden provides a definitive answer to that question, at least for Jungkook specifically. Yes, a solo K-pop artist can achieve massive commercial success. Yes, a solo artist can compete with group releases. Yes, individual star power exists in K-pop and can translate to exceptional sales performance. This creates a precedent and a pathway for other K-pop artists who want to pursue solo careers or release solo projects, because Jungkook has now proven what's possible. Every other K-pop idol looking at solo opportunities can point to Golden as evidence that solo success is achievable at the highest level. It raises the ceiling for what's considered possible for solo K-pop artists in the Western market specifically, and it demonstrates that the right combination of talent, music quality, promotion, and timing can break through barriers that might have seemed impossible before. The reaction from ARMY to this achievement has been one of immense pride and celebration, and that's worth acknowledging, because ARMY's support was undoubtedly a crucial factor in Golden reaching this milestone as quickly as it did. The dedication of the fanbase in purchasing, streaming, promoting, and sharing the album contributed significantly to its commercial success. But it's also important to recognize that reaching 1 million units in the US market requires more than just core fanbase support. It requires reaching beyond that core to casual listeners, to people who aren't necessarily ARMY but who heard songs from the album and decided they wanted to own it. The fact that Golden achieved both strong fanbase support and broader market penetration is what enabled this historic timeline. Looking at the bigger picture of Jungkook's career, this achievement with Golden represents a significant personal milestone in his journey from trainee to group member to global superstar to successful solo artist. Each phase of his career has built upon the previous one, and his solo debut wasn't just trading on his BTS fame but rather demonstrating that the talent, work ethic, and artistry he developed within BTS could translate to solo success. The 303-day timeline to 1 million units in the US is now a permanent part of his artistic legacy, a concrete achievement that can never be taken away and that establishes his place in K-pop history not just as a BTS member but as a solo artist in his own right. The music industry is ultimately a business, and while artistic merit and cultural impact matter enormously, commercial success is how the industry measures viability and potential. The fact that Golden achieved this level of commercial success means that Jungkook has proven his commercial viability as a solo artist in the most concrete way possible, through actual sales numbers in the world's largest music market. This commercial validation opens doors, creates opportunities, and establishes credibility that serves as a foundation for everything he does moving forward in his solo career. As we celebrate this achievement, it's also worth reflecting on what made Golden successful beyond just Jungkook's existing fame and fanbase. The album itself received positive reviews from critics, it showcased his vocal range and artistry, it featured high-quality production and songwriting, it included songs that resonated with listeners and became streaming hits. The commercial success wasn't just people buying it because Jungkook's name was on it, although that certainly helped, it was people buying it because the music itself was good and worth owning. That distinction matters because it means the success was earned through artistic quality and not just manufactured through hype. The 303 days to 1 million units also represents a journey of consistent performance rather than a single moment. Each day of those 10 months represented continued sales, new listeners discovering the album, existing fans purchasing additional copies or formats, streaming numbers accumulating, and the album maintaining presence in the market. That kind of sustained performance over time is actually more difficult to achieve than a massive opening week because it requires the album to have staying power and to continue connecting with audiences over an extended period. When we look at the top 5 list and see Jungkook's name sitting at number 5 alongside 4 BTS group albums, it creates a visual representation of his impact and success that is immediately comprehensible. You don't need to understand complex chart metrics or sales calculations, you can simply see that among the fastest-selling K-pop albums in US history, the top 5 includes 4 BTS group releases and Jungkook's solo debut. That alone tells a powerful story about his commercial power and his position in the industry. The fact that this achievement is documented by Pop Planet with clear data and specific timelines also matters because it's not just fan claims or hype, it's verified industry data that can be cited and referenced. When commercial achievements are backed by reliable data from respected tracking sources, they carry more weight and credibility than anecdotal claims or estimates. Jungkook's 303-day timeline to 1 million units is now official record, it's documented fact that becomes part of music history and part of how his career and impact will be understood and discussed for years to come. Looking forward, this achievement with Golden sets expectations and creates anticipation for whatever Jungkook does next in his solo career. If his debut solo album could achieve this level of commercial success, what might a follow-up album accomplish? How will he build on this foundation? What new creative directions might he explore knowing that he has this commercial credibility established? These are exciting questions that this achievement raises, and they speak to a future full of potential and possibility for his solo artistry. For fans who supported Golden by purchasing, streaming, sharing, and promoting the album, this milestone represents validation of their efforts and their belief in Jungkook's solo potential. There's a special satisfaction in supporting an artist and then seeing concrete evidence that the support translated to measurable success. The 303-day timeline is something ARMY can celebrate as a community achievement, knowing that their collective support contributed to making this historic milestone possible. In conclusion, Jungkook's achievement with Golden reaching 1 million units in the United States in 303 days represents far more than just a sales milestone. It represents the fastest timeline ever achieved by a solo K-pop artist in US history. It places him in elite company as the only solo artist in the top 5 fastest-selling K-pop albums alongside group releases. It demonstrates his individual commercial power and viability as a solo artist. It establishes a high standard for his future solo work. It creates a precedent for other K-pop solo artists, and it cements his place in music history as not just a member of BTS but as a successful and impactful solo artist in his own right. The numbers don't lie, the data is clear, and the achievement is historic. Congratulations to Jungkook on making US music history with Golden. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Jungkook's historic achievement with Golden, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more K-pop news and analysis. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this achievement, whether you supported Golden, and what you hope to see from Jungkook's solo career in the future. Share this video with fellow ARMY so they can celebrate this historic milestone together. I'll see you in the next video.